Well, good morning. It's Toby at breakfast on BBC Radio Sheffield, where yesterday we brought you the news that Sheffield City Council member overseeing the tree replacement programme, Brian Lodge, stood down. We also told you the man to take over his brief is Councillor Lewis Dagnall, who joins us now. Lewis, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, this is a job I bet everybody on the council wanted. First things first, tell us how you come to have this brief. Tell us what Julie said to you.
Well, I'm really looking forward to taking up post next week. It's a really exciting opportunity to work with Julie and the Cabinet as a whole to try and reach a compromise from all sides on this issue and draw a line on it.
And does compromise need to be reached? So far, what we've heard from the council, what we've heard from Paul Billington is that actually this is a contract that we've signed. Everything needs to be done to the letter. Darren Butt from Amy said we're not shifting. This is it. Is there room for movement?
Well, I think the first thing I want to do is to go out, when I start next week, is to go out and listen to people across the city about where we should go next. I mean, this has gone on for some years now, and we want to be able to move on. There's big issues facing Sheffield, and this is a very important issue to many people in my ward, which is one of the reasons when Julie offered the chance to work with her and the Cabinet on it, I was very keen to take it up. If we can resolve this, we can start talking about the big issues like the Tory spending cuts, the rise in child poverty, rise in fuel poverty, food poverty across this city, which is disgraceful in the 21st century.
A lot of the people would say that a lot of the rest of the city is talking about this, and this is a very localised issue, and that it's taking up too much council time. What's your view on that?
Well, for me as a councillor in Gleaders Valley, it's very important for me to respond to the views of my constituents. And there's a diverse range of views, but I think in Healy and Mearsbrook in particular, there's a desire to see us move on from this and reach a compromise that can suit, as in other parts of the southwest of the city. Well,
you're going to have to, aren't you? Brian Lodge is not an inexperienced politician. Obviously, getting him moving down means that you can come in, and if you continue on the same tack, then it's going to be seen as a pointless move. What do you think your compromise will be? Will there be trees now that don't get chopped down because you're in post?
Well, I want to start by saying, Brian's been extremely hard-working and has had to put up with a lot and has had a very tough time, and I completely respect his decision, to step back. But I'll still be working with Brian as a member of the Labour group, and I look forward to doing that and wish him all the best. As I say, I think the most important thing for me to do with my approach is to go out and listen. It's to start by listening. How do people want to move on from here?
Well, what they want to move on by you stopping chopping the trees down. And, of course, you have a contract that says you can't do that, and you've got 17,500 to chop down. So compromise really comes from your conversation with Amy, doesn't it?
Well, as Julie Dawes said last week, I think we need compromise from the council, we need compromise from Amy, and we need compromise from some of the protest groups. If we are to come together and get a resolution, that means that we can move on with this.
So compromise from you and compromise from Amy does it, that trees that were going to be knocked down now won't be?
Well, I'm looking forward to getting into questions like this next week when I start work on the job. But as I say, the first thing I want to do is to go out and listen to people about how we can move on from it.
OK, you mentioned Brian Lodge, who's been a councillor for a number of years, and talked very openly to us about the abuse that he's received. And we know that other councillors have had this. Obviously, we know that politicians of all hues have had it. Things have been made about the fact that you appear to have recently deleted your Twitter feed and your Facebook profile. Is that because of that?
It was because I didn't have a chance to use it, really. I thought, well, what was the point in having a Facebook and a Twitter feed which you're not updating regularly? I keep in touch with my constituents in many ways. I have my regular surgeries, I have regular meetings, I go to tenants and residents meetings. As Cabinet member, there'll be lots of forums for which I can engage with residents across the city who I'm representing on the Cabinet.
So when did you delete your Twitter feed?
Months ago.
So it was unrelated to this?
Not related to this. I found out about this over a weekend when Julie gave me a ring.
Mm-hmm. So and does that make it easy for you not receiving not having that avenue for people to get hold of you?
Well, like I say, I'm looking forward to receiving a lot of correspondence by email, going out and meeting people face to face in a variety of forums, and I think I'll have my work cut out with that.
I'm sure you will. Which way are you coming at this from, though? I mean, are you, as a Labour group, you're anti-PFI, but you're within a PFI? Can you change it? Can you get out of it? Do you want to get out of it?
Well, you're absolutely right. The Labour Party is opposed to PFI. We're opposed to private profit being introduced into the public sector. I don't regret that us taking up the Streets Ahead project. 10 years ago, I was 14 when they started negotiating the Streets Ahead project. And then it would have been unimaginable to have a public works programme on this scale done in-house without a PFI arrangement. But we've changed the weather on this. Politics is the art of the possible, and by having Jeremy as our leader, and by doing so well in the election last year, on a clear ticket that we want public investment with public money in public services, I think it is now possible in the future to imagine public services again being run by the public sector. But that requires us to get a Labour government in.
Do you think you'll try and get out of this contract with Amy?
What the Labour government will do when we form the next government is we'll review PFI contracts across the country.
You can't do that without Labour government.
Well, the government is a party to this.
I mean, obviously, everyone wants to see this come to a close, if nothing else, so we can stop talking about it. But unless Amy say to you, we will change our contract and therefore lose some money, nothing's going to change, is it? You've got no lever. You've got no wedge.
Well, to be fair to Amy, when I've met a lot of staff working on the streets ahead who have been transferred in from a council and are still very proud to be working on a public project. Whatever the badge on their shirt, they've got a public service ethos and they want to contribute to the city. Many people who work on streets ahead live in the city and it's affecting the communities in which they live in. So I think that we can reach a compromise with Amy, and we can reach a compromise with the campaigners. But
Darren Butt sat in that chair and we talked about no compromise. We're not stopping, nothing's changing. Paul Billington has said to a council officer, has said to the campaigners, we've been through the court, it's not an issue, we're not changing, get on with it. That's going to change it. Will Darren come off this? Will Paul Billington come off his brief?
I'm here to talk about what I'm going to do, and rather than rake over what's been said in the past, I want to come in with a fresh approach. But
what's been said in the past, Lewis, to be fair, has ended up with people in court. I mean, it's really serious what's been said in the past. And Paul Billington's been in court. In fact, what he talked about is being examined by people right now. So it is really important what's been in the past. A line under this doesn't get drawn.
Well, as you say, it's absolutely serious. This has been in large part a debate, which has been healthy and democratic, but it's got very serious.
But debates don't normally end up with councillors in court, threats to go to prison.
Well, this is the sort of thing which is why we want to take a fresh approach and to move on and to try and reach a compromise on this.
I appreciate these early days, yeah, and I do appreciate that. There are more questions we'll need to ask, but I think you need to have a bit more time in the job for that. I think that's reasonable. Do you think you'll do that thing that the protesters always say to us? Everybody in a room, round a table.
Well, as I say, the first thing I want to do is to go out and speak to people across the city. That's why I was pleased to take up this invitation to come on this morning and to introduce my approach and my values. You know, and for me,
will that be STAG and Paul Brooke and Dave Dillon? Will that be people like them?
Well, people across the city can be listening now, and people I'll be looking forward when I start next week to meeting with people across the city to discuss it. You know, my socialism is very much influenced by environmental socialists like Edward Carpenter, John Ruskin, who actually played a role in Sheffield and saw how environmentalism and a great environment is so important to the socialist society we're trying to achieve. And that's the starting point from which I'll be going into this role.
It starts the job next week, so as I say, I think a couple of weeks in we'd like you back in with
absolutely
somewhere where we can drill down a little bit more. In the meantime, the only thing is to wish you the best of luck with it, because
well, thank you very much.
I'm sure it's not the easiest brief on Sheffield City Council at the moment. Councillor Lewis Dagnall, thank you very much.